Okay, FDR. This is 1936, and this was not a speech he gave, so I can't play audio of it for you. This is a fairly long document that he wrote, which is titled the FDR's Message to the 75th Congress on Enforcing Antitrust Laws. And he says, we believe in a way of living in which political democracy and free private enterprise for profit should serve and protect each other to ensure a maximum of human liberty, not for a few, but for all. It has well been said, he said, the freest government... I already read that to you. Render the great mass of the population. Well, I'll read it again. It has well been said, the freest government, if it could exist, would not be long acceptable if the tendency of the laws were to create a rapid accumulation of property in a few hands and to render the great mass of the population dependent and penniless. By the way, did you see where the Koch brothers have said that they are basically endorsing Scott Walker, as I've been predicting for, years? Ever since Scott Walker took that phone call from the guy that he thought was David Koch and basically did everything but ask him to marry him. It was more like a subordinate boss relation. How did I do, boss? Huh? How did I do? Huh? Oh yeah, we're gonna kick their butts. Huh? Yeah. When that happened, I thought, okay, Scott Walker is the perfect toady. You know, Rand Paul, he's begging the Kochs for money. He's going, I'm the libertarian. You know, you ran for libertarian vice president in 1980, David Koch. Give me the money. They're looking at Rand Paul going, this guy's not going to win. This guy's a loose cannon. Scott Walker, the Koch brothers put, no doubt, a fair amount of the money into helping him overcome his recall election. But what they know is that the guy, he's like Nixon. Scott Walker's the closest thing we've had to Nixon. Anyhow, back to FDR. He says, if there is a danger, it comes from that concentrated private economic power which is struggling so hard to master our democratic government. I was just talking about the Koch brothers and their, all of the Americans for Prosperity ads against Obamacare. It was the efforts of these guys, not just the Koch brothers, but this whole right-wing cabal that took Obamacare to the Supreme Court that now allows the Republican governors Republican legislators to say to working poor people in states like Florida, hey, screw you, Charlene Dill, go ahead and die. Well, she did. And Rick Scott has her blood on his hands. How can that man sleep at night? He says, if there is that danger, it comes from our concentrated private economic power, which is struggling so hard to master our democratic government. It will not come, as some of the possessors of that private power would make the people believe, from our democratic government. It's the danger. Okay, so he's saying you don't have to worry about the government. You got to worry about private industry. He says, even these statistics I have cited do not measure the actual degree of concentration of control over American industry. Close financial control through locking spheres of influence. He's talking about it creates close control of the business policies of enterprises which masquerade as independent units. So you've got 4 companies that basically own the entire food supply, or 80 or 90% of it. But they operate under hundreds of brand names. You've got 11,000 magazines in the United States and newspapers that are published by fewer than 10 companies. You've got radio and television stations that operate with independent names. They don't say, hey, it's Clear Channel, hey, it's Cumulus. But, the ownership is incredibly concentrated. So FDR says private enterprise is ceasing to be free enterprise and is becoming a cluster of private collectivisms. Masking itself as a system of free enterprise after the American model, it is in fact becoming a concentrated cartel system after the European model. An industrial empire building, he writes, unfortunately has evolved into banker control of industry. We oppose that. Such control does not offer safety for the investing public. He says, in output per man or machine, we are the most efficient industrial nation on earth, but in the manner of complete mutual employment of capital and labor, we are among the least efficient. If you believe with me in private initiative, you must acknowledge the right of well-managed small businesses to make reasonable profits. You must admit that the destruction of this opportunity for small businesses to make profits follows concentration of control of any given industry into a small number of dominating corporations. If private enterprise left to its own devices becomes half regimented and half competitive, half slave and half free, as it is today, it obviously cannot adjust itself to meet the needs and demands of the country. I have consistently urged a federal wages and hours bill to take the minimum decencies of men and women out of the field of competition. He's proposing a minimum wage. We must revive and strengthen competition. The justification of private profit is private risk. We cannot safely make America safe for the businessman who does not want to take the burdens and risks of being a. He says, no people, least of all a people with our traditions of personal liberty, will endure the slow erosion of opportunity for the common man, the oppressive state of helplessness under the dominion of a few, which are overshadowing our whole economic life. That, in its essence, is fascism, ownership of government by an individual, a group, or other private controlling power.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
So we've asked this question in the context of the Mussolini's definition, but by FDR's definition, has America become fascist? Are the Koch brothers the leading edge?